Hi, we're ReSnare, and we're here today to talk to you about our reusable and reloadable endoscopic ligating loop with delivery system. I'm Sharon Roth.
I'm Melissa Schwartz.
I'm Zach Plona.
And I'm Elizabeth Boyle, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the clinical need for our senior design project. So our device focused on a ligating loop with delivery system, also referred to as a snare or an endoloop, which is a one-time use medical device used in laparoscopic or minimally invasive surgery. Its purpose is to cut off blood flow to a region of tissue, therefore isolating that tissue for removal from the body. It is most widely used in appendectomies, but it is also used in a number of other gastrointestinal and gynecological procedures. The Center for Disease Control reports that there are 273,000 appendectomies per year, so as you can see, this device is used rather frequently. The device that is currently used by most hospitals for laparoscopic surgery is Covidion's Surgitide ligating loop, and the pictures at the bottom of the screen are going to depict how one would use this device. So as you can see in this image, the yellow arrow points to the loop of suture before it has been placed around the desired mass of tissue. The yellow arrow in the next picture points to the loop of suture after it has been tightened around the mass of tissue and cut off blood flow to that tissue. At this point, the surgeon can then take a pair of laparoscopic scissors and cut the suture, detaching the base of the device from the suture, which leaves you with the tightened and isolated suture around the mass of tissue as depicted by the blue arrow in the last image on the screen. Additionally, this device is provided by simulation centers and medical schools across the country so that surgical residents can practice using it for the fundamentals of laparoscopic surgery exam. The FLS test is a practical exam that all surgical residents must pass in order to become board-certified surgeons. And the third task on this test requires the use of the ligating loop. For this reason, medical centers and simulation centers across the country are major consumers of these ligating loop devices. One company in particular, VTI Medical, fabricates an endoloop that is intended for practice purposes only, and it is purchased widely by simulation centers across the country. So to give you a little information on how this VTI Medical's device works, we're going to watch the following video and how it is used for the fundamentals of laparoscopic surgery exam. In the foreground of the video, there's going to be a surgeon holding a pair of laparoscopic scissors in his left hand, and in his right hand, he'll be holding VTI Medical's device. In the upper left-hand corner, there will be a video of the inside of the box that the surgeon inserts the device into. So to use this device, the surgeon would insert the ligating loop through the hole into the box, and then he would place the loop of suture around the piece of foam. He would then snap off the snap-off top and pull it, and by pulling the top, it would tighten the suture around the loop of foam, and at this point, the surgeon can then cut the suture, detaching it from the base of the device. So, for our senior design project, we collaborated with the Simulation Center at UPenn to create a cost-efficient, reusable ligating loop with delivery system because the Simulation Center spends thousands of dollars each year purchasing these devices so that the residents can practice using them. So as I previously mentioned, there are two options currently available on the market for simulation centers to purchase. That is Covidion's Surgitide ligating loop and VTI Medical's multi-use ligating loop. Both of these devices have considerable shortcomings and are not considered multi-use or reusable for many reasons. First off, both of these devices are extremely expensive. Covidion's device retails for $50 per device, and VTI Medical's device costs $36 per device. Additionally, both of these devices are one-time use for three main reasons. The snap-off top on both of these devices can only be snapped off once, and the suture on both of these devices can only be cut once without rendering the device useless. Additionally, neither of these devices can be reloaded with new suture after you've used it once. Furthermore, VTI's model does not fully replicate the surgical experience as a ligating loop would be used in actual surgery. So now I'm going to hand it off to Melissa to talk a little bit about our goals and objectives.
Thanks, Ellie. So in order to create a device that's comparable to the ones in the market, we had 5 innovative goals we had accomplished throughout the course of the year to redesign this ligating loop. The first is that it had to be reusable, which means you could snap the top on and off multiple times and be able to use it according to the FLS test. Additionally, we wanted it to be reloadable. So during the FLS test, you could cut the suture, then reload the suture back through the device, and then use it again properly. Third, combining both of these, we wanted to make sure it would still simulate actual surgery so you would get the full benefits of learning to use the device. Fourth, we wanted the device to be able to be actually used in the simulation center by the end of the year. So that means it had to be a superior training alternative to the currently existing options, and then also save the simulation, and then also be approved by the administration and residents. And then finally, the cost efficiency. We had to save the simulation center money, which we accomplished by decreasing the cost per device and per use. Now, in order to accomplish these lofty goals throughout the course of the year, we had certain ideal and actual specifications we required ourselves to meet. The first category of specifications is the fact that we want these devices to simulate actual surgery. These are seen in the directly measurable quantities on the screen. For example, the length of the device had to be a particular length, so that way it would fit within the trocar and then be able to be used correctly and also practice correct depth perception. Moreover, there were repeatability specifications. So these had to be able to work at least 10 times, so that way they were better than currently existing options. The first is the snap-off top mechanism. So you could snap the top on and off multiple times. Additionally, we wanted it to be reloadable, so that way the suture again could be cut, reloaded through the device, and then used again properly. And then finally, we wanted the device to be able to use fully functionally according to the FLS test guidelines at least 10 times. Then the final and most important specification to us was the cost efficiency. Based upon the currently existing devices on the market, we required that our device cost under $40 per device. We actually far exceeded this expectation, and our device only cost $2.16 based on the materials it takes to create it, which on a grander scale is a device that is 16 times less expensive than the currently available options, and also could save the simulation center up to 94% of their budget on live gating loops per year. Now I'm going to pass the time over to Zach, who's going to discuss how we evaluate these specifications.
Thank you, Melissa. So we had two major groups of specifications to evaluate. The first were our specifications, which corresponded to replicating the surgical feel of the device. For these, we created 5 independently manufactured replicates and tested each of our specifications on these replicates, creating a mean and standard deviation value. Our other set of specifications were our repeatability specifications, which we again created 5 independently manufactured replicates, and then tested our device for each of those. So for our surgical specifications, we were able to meet each of our specifications to a p-value of less than 0.001, doing a one-sample, one-tailed t-test for both the lower and upper bounds of our desired range. For our repeatability specifications, we ran our samples each through a number of duty cycles, and then did a one-sample, one-tailed t-test for our lower threshold, and we're again able to meet our specification to a p-value of less than 0.001. And in the case of the snap-off top, it was actually never able to be tested in that for the number of duty cycles that we ran, our device never fit. Our final evaluation was cost efficiency. So we were able to calculate this using our known cost per device in addition to our repeatability specification. And we were able to again meet our specification to a p-value of less than 0.001. And were then able to test our specification using the highest possible estimate that we had for our cost of our device, the lowest estimate for the cost of existing technology, and the lowest estimate for reusability, and again met our specification to the same p-value. I'll now pass it off to Sharon for our deliverables.
Thanks, Zach. So now that we've talked about what our goals and objectives were and how we evaluated our specifications, I want to talk about what we're actually going to hand the simulation center. So the first is that we're going to be able to hand them our live gating loop with delivery system. We're also going to be able to hand them a detailed image-guided instruction manual for the user, as well as a knot tying stand so the user can make standardized size knots to use with our device. Now, I want to walk you through the process of using ReSnare's live gating loop. So the first step is you take the suture and you tie a slip knot around the knot tying stand. You can then remove the knotted suture from the stand and gently guide the suture through the device. When it comes out the top of the snap-off top, you secure the suture in a notch, and therefore the device is ready to be used for the FLS exam. So looking at the FLS exam, as Ellie briefly went over before, you take the device, you guide the loop over the foam or the appendage, you snap off the top, you can then pull the top and the suture, tightening the loop around the foam. At this point, you can cut the suture. And here's the key part, step number 7 here. You can go back and repeat the process I just explained, reload the device, and go through this process all over again. So we went to meet with 3 different surgeons, including residents and attendings, to get some feedback on our device. All of them said that the reloading process was very simple and easy, as well as all of the participants said that the top stayed on and came off as needed during this entire process. They were very pleased with the device and thought it was intuitive and easy to use. It cost about $154 for us to do the research and development of this, but I just want to reiterate, it only cost $2.16 per device, and considering that our device is reusable, the cost per use is even further reduced. Looking back at our goals and objectives, we're very proud that we were able to achieve all of them. In fact, since we far exceeded all of our expectations, we have a new goal, and this is our potential for commercialization. We think this should be able to use not just in Penn's Simulation Center, but in Simulation Center and medical training centers all across the country. With the feedback we've received, it's perhaps even better than the current training methods on the market. We've been working with Penn's CTT, the Center for Technology Transfer, and we've already filed a provisional patent. So looking towards the future, there are a few more steps. The first, as I just mentioned, is we do want this to be commercially available. We're working with CTT to file for a full patent in the upcoming year. We're also working with CTT to do a more detailed market analysis. We also think it'd be really great if this model could be converted into one that could be sterilized and reused in actual surgeries, and this would be especially impactful in underserved and developing areas. Finally, we've also looked into making an automated knot tying machine. This would even further speed up the process of using our device. So there are many people we would like to thank for all of their support, and I now open the floor to any questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so you listed a bunch of comments that people who used it gave you. They're all very positive. I'm sure some people gave you some suggested improvements. I'm curious what they were.
That's a good question. So the knots that we recommended they tie, you can really use any type of slip knot. We recommended you do a surgeon's knot, then a square knot, and a lot of them said that that probably wasn't the best knot to be using with this device. So we're definitely looking into changing the type of knot we're using. With many surgeons have personal preferences, and we say as long as it's a slip knot, that's fine. So that was their biggest complaint, was actually the type of knot that we were recommending.
Do you think that commercial providers will simply lower the price of their devices $1 or $2 now, and reduce the profit margins rather than lose the market?
I mean, it's possible they would do that. The main advantage of ours, though, is that it's reusable, which is something the Simulation Center and training centers have been looking for. So there's a different value add that we think our product brings, but it's totally possible they will do that.
Their device was $30-some odd for the training one. How could this one be $2 and that one be $30? Really, they're overcharging.
Because they claim it is reusable, there's a higher margin that they say that they can use, but the actual cost of the device itself to make for us was low. Low.
Thank you very much.
Yes,